Welcome to Wesley Impact. This is the television program of Wesley Mission, where we'd like to invite you to get up close and personal with various aspects of our work. This week, we'll start a short series of conversations recorded earlier this year, looking at the church in a post-COVID world. The conversation features Mark McCrindle, a leading social researcher, Dr. Justine Toe, a senior research fellow at the Centre for Public Christianity, and Mike Gore, the CEO of Open Doors. It's a fascinating conversation and one that I'm looking forward to sharing with you over the coming weeks. But first, we'll see the final instalment of a short series of documentaries looking at the work in Wesley Community Housing. Over the past few weeks, we've looked at some of the maintenance and refurbishment works taking place in our buildings, and we've seen the positive impact of community engagement. Today, we'll hear from two tenants, Brad and Rich, whose lives have been changed through the work that we do.
My name's Darren and I work for the Royal Botanic Gardens. The program's called Community Greening. This is an outreach program. We partner with Wesley Mission. They make contact with us. So we go out into the community. We work with people who live in social housing. At the moment, I'm coming to this complex once a month. I meet with Lisa and the team from Wesley Mission. We support community. We work side by side with them and we promote the health benefits of gardening and horticultural therapy. What we're doing today is we're just going to spread out some of this mulch. We're going to use our hands, Richard.
Oh, okay.
We're going to spread it around in this particular spot here. So this is an area that hasn't had mulch on it for a little while now, so we're just going to top it up.
Have you got it?
Wesley Community Housing is a community housing provider. We are more about the people than we are about the building. Like, the buildings are important and the housing that these people are in is important because it does provide them with shelter. But we are engaging the tenants to get together for them to actually connect with each other and with others. But they can also connect with us. They can connect with the garden.
Chippies don't have soft hands, mate.
No, mate, what they do now when they don't work for about 2 or 3 years, right?
So that then that also helps them with their well-being.
So we're just going to thin that out.
It gives a different viewpoint, not just looking at a brick wall or, sitting by yourself in a flat. You can come out if you want, you can sit in the garden, and it's a lot more pleasant than if it was just concrete and clay. Generally, the fellas around here get some pleasure out of it. And we have a few vegetables and stuff down the end. We're working on that because not everybody's going to pick their own veggies, but some people have started doing it.
So Brad, how long have you been a part of Wesley Mission?
Probably about 10 years now, I think. 7 years here and about three years up at Warwick Farm. I was homeless at the time and I was trying to find a place that was relatively safe. And the places that I'd lived in, this one is very safe. No, I mean the ones before this weren't quite as pleasant as this one.
I met you one of the other times I come up here. I certainly know this man over there because he's come down and put gardens and all that and everything out.
It's been an interesting life, but I won't go into any detail about it.
Give me a chair, George.
It's I'm still affected by what my past was in many ways, but because I've got a stable environment, I'm able to deal with that in what I perceive as a lot of positive ways. What's good now? I'm able to pace myself. Physically, I'm not real well, and it's not going to get better, but I can have an interest that I don't have to wander too far from home for. And how fortunate that, people from like Darren and that are coming around and Richard, isn't that wonderful? That's a good sense of community. Communities have been sort of busted up a lot lately, and it actually takes some effort to generate it, and it's good.
And we're just going to put it just here for now. That'll do. So as you can see, most of it's been put together already. That was done by Tallerwood Men's Shed. So we're going to build the table. Hopefully we're going to get the guys involved. I know that we've got a few there who are really keen to come out and be part of it. So we want them to play an active role in putting the table together so there's that ownership, and it's not a gift, it's something that we're doing together. It's something that they want in their garden.
How many drills you got?
Your one.
Stopped work about, I was 66, I was still working. And then the labour hire company said, but I still do a little bit of work, do a lot of jobs and, you know, for people and that, whatever, but not a lot now, not like I used to. We're just putting the slats on this table. 7 years ago I went to Harrison Street. I'd run out of money, run out of work. And I moved in. And them days it was drug and alcohol rehab. I never had those problems. I probably got a little alcohol. And for $100 a week, I'm still there. How good was it, George, eh? It's been good for me. Well, put it this way, it's been very, very affordable. I'll put it right on the end there so you can knock it down. That's it. Hold it there. Give me a couple of screws. Just put a screw.
With the head.
And I've been doing this for quite some time too, I think. How many years now, George? 5 years. Making up all the planter stands in different places. It's something that everyone can participate in. It's not just one person or whatever. Everyone can come out and do it if they want to. Nobody's left out. You couldn't get any better than that. I mean, Housing Commission, you wouldn't get anything like this, I don't think.
Across New South Wales, we currently have, for our community housing programs, 411 tenancies, and they consist of very short-term tenancies up to 3 months, slightly longer term up to 2 years, and then properties like this property, which are longer term tenancies as long as the tenants need it. So we're similar to a real estate agent in that we manage buildings and we manage tenancies under the Residential Tenancy Act, but we do provide more than that. So we're not just about the transactions, we're not just about someone has a place to stay, we want someone to sustain the tenancy that they're in and to be the best person that they can be in that tenancy.
So this garden we put in, oh, it was probably 3 months ago, I think.
Yeah.
Well, the first time we put it in, we planted a whole heap of herbs and different annuals like some lettuce and some spinach and a few other bits and pieces. Pretty much now ready to pick. Yep, that's beautiful, ready to go.
Right, now we have over here some lettuce. I'm going to take the whole top off them. I'm going to be a bit rough on it today.
We've got some parsley over the back.
Now there's several different varieties of lettuce in here. You might be able to see some of the difference in them. Right, that's a lettuce too.
I got this chilling too.
Oh, beauty, man.
Look at that, bro.
Are these yours?
Yeah, Mexican stuff.
Oh no, they're hot, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. This chili we planted about 3 months ago down Ashcroft, Harrisville Creek.
Together we planted them as part of a gardening workshop. George loves his chili, so he's the go-to person. Anything about chilies, George knows. And he's also our taste tester. So what do they like, George? But he loves them hot.
Yeah. I'm tempted. Yeah. They're hot. Ooh, they're hot. Ooh. Oh, yeah.
Now, by coming in and putting in veggie patches and planting some flower beds and putting in a table and providing opportunities where the residents can work with me from the Royal Botanic Gardens, they can work with Lisa and the team from Wesley Mission, they can achieve great levels of success.
I find that it's a luxury that I've never had before in this life, being able to walk outside the door, take about 20 steps and pick a bit of lettuce for lunch. And you know, I'm so out of practice with it that I forget that it's here. But this is a good place to live. It has its ordinary difficulties, but they're only ordinary. So I'm grateful for all the assistance that I've gotten over the years.
When you're doing events like this, you're communicating with other people and everything else and whatever. Like you're not stuck in a place by yourself and, you know, like you stay inside all day and do nothing.
You know, sometimes you find there are people there who have things in common with you and other times not. But, you know, I work with a lot of people with Wesley Mission, and the thing that really stands out for me are the stories. Everyone's got a story. Sometimes I feel as though I've got more from the activity than they have, because just hearing their stories and sharing what they've been through in their life, it's pretty special.
If you would like to learn more about Wesley Mission, visit wesleymission.org.au. You can find help in our community services, connect with our church and congregations, discover a volunteer role that suits you, stay up to date on the latest news and information, donate to support our work, and help make a positive difference in your community. You can also connect with us on social media and subscribe to receive the latest news and information about Wesley Mission directly into your inbox. Visit wesleymission.org.au.
When COVID-19 hit in 2020, it's fair to say that in many ways, the world came to a standstill. For some, it was an opportunity to hit reset. But for many, it was a time of fear, anxiety and loss. In Australia, we haven't felt the impact of COVID-19 in the same way that some countries around the world continue to today. We've been fortunate and blessed in so many ways. As we look ahead, or at least beyond the initial impact, it became obvious to me that we all have many questions about the future. I explored this theme earlier this year with three people much smarter than me. Over the last year, we've gone through a lot, haven't we? And we've seen a dramatic limitation around travel, and we're living through something like that right now. Work has been completely reinvented. Work from home is now not so much the exception, but becoming a norm. But, and this is our hope and our prayer, we're moving into what many are calling a we hope and pray, post-pandemic future. So what's next for Australia? What's next for the Christian church here in Australia? And I'm going to start with you, Mark. And Mark, your organisation, which does incredible social research, you've published 3 studies over the last year. What significant challenges have emerged for the broader Australian community that you're finding in that research?
Probably this figure, I think, overall shares the state of things, and that is that 57% of Australians say that 2020 was the most difficult year of their life. And if you think about all of the personal turmoil that Australians have been through and all of the journeys that they've had in their life, on average 40 years is the median age there, to say that last year was the most difficult for more than half Australians is pretty significant. We saw early on the number one feeling was vulnerable. By the end of the year, the number one feeling was frustrated. It's great in that it recognised that in the middle of a global pandemic, physical health was not the biggest issue. By the end of it, we realised that it was mental health, it was the social and relational health. That was what was really impacting Australians. And so as we looked at Australians, this sense of resilience was probably the dominant characteristic that emerged. 4 in 5 Australians said that they felt resilience, that they could overcome through the year that we had. And the final thing on that is that there was a spiritual acuity that emerged as well. And you often find that in tough times, as the theme of the morning. In the dark days, God does his finest work. 47% of Australians say that they thought more about their own mortality since COVID. Almost the same number said that they have thought more about the meaning of life. A third of Australians say that they have had more conversations about God in the last year. So there is this sense as people are uncertain, they look beyond themselves and what they can control to the issues of faith and spirituality and meaning. And that really emerged in the last year.
Yeah. Justine, you've done a lot of thinking, writing around what it means to be a good neighbour, and Australia's full of neighbourhoods, whether they're physical or otherwise. What is your research, what is your thinking led you to? What conclusions?
Well, a couple of years ago, they did the first national loneliness survey in Australia, and they found that 1 in 4 Australians felt lonely at least 3 days of the week. And apparently during COVID, they repeated, the same university repeated the survey, and it was now 1 in 2 Australians feeling lonely, which tells you a lot about the snapshot of the nation. We also know that, so Hugh Mackay, Australia's most beloved social researcher, sorry Mark, has said that something like 88 or 90% of Australians are happy that there's a church in their neighbourhood, which I think is quite extraordinary, because if you think about it, the public profile of the church, the capital C church as an institution, has taken quite a beating in the last decade particularly, and yet that same negativity doesn't attach to the local church. So I think that's an incredible opportunity. It's a good reminder as well, like sometimes the body of Christ in that local incarnation, 100 or so people, let's say, or everything from that up until the mega churches. It can seem sometimes though like, what are we doing here? What are we trying to do? Are we actually doing anything that's going to make any difference? But it is a real encouragement to think that Australians, even if they may not want to go to church necessarily, but they still feel happy that there is a church there. So as I said, there is an opportunity for churches to think about ways that they can engage with their communities and provide that social glue, because that's what the research shows as well, that the church, particularly because it's not a collection of people who are there purely because they're the same income level or the same education level or anything like that. The body of Christ is supposed to be diverse and be able to join people across many different types of situations in life.
Wonderful. And of course, Mike, we're part of a global village, a global community. What can we learn from our sisters and brothers overseas about what it means to be a truly resilient people?
I've always thought that the Persecuted Church, they're some of the greatest spiritual mentors that you could ever want, right? Because they're people who by name have overcome the bonds of cultural oppression to remain sort of courageously close to Jesus. And so when I think back over the last 12 months, there's been this kind of beautiful alignment of the worldwide church. It's often, you can sympathise with someone, but to empathise with them is often very difficult. Now, for the overwhelming majority of the church around the world, they meet in a decentralised fashion. Okay, and now last year we had to all walk through that journey, and there was this great alignment, in my view, of the global church. And so for us, our heartbeat at Open Doors is always to say, how can we position the Persecuted Church as spiritual mentors to the Western church? Because I think where this conversation will go next is around values and culture of our society, and never before, I think, has it been more important to learn from the Persecuted Church.
That was the first part of a 4-part conversation that I'll share with you here on Wesley Impact over the next few weeks. There's no doubt that our world has changed, and it will take some time before we find our new normal, whatever that is. We'll continue that conversation with Mark, Justine and Mike next week.
I think people are amazing. We can turn dark to light. We can fly through storms. We can change worlds, but we can't always do it alone. If you need help, we could work together. Find out more at wesleymission.org.au. We are here for you.
Over the past 5 weeks, we've been in a message series I preached in Wesley Centre earlier this year called 2021 Vision. I've explored our mission, or the reason Wesley Mission exists, to continue the work of Jesus Christ in word and deed, by being a people who have soft hearts, sharp minds, hard feet. This week, it's all about open hands.
Jesus wasn't the only Jewish teacher wandering the dusty streets of Israel. There were multiple rabbis, Jewish teachers, and there was a saying, if you were a disciple of a Jewish rabbi, as Jesus was known, that you should cover yourself in the dust of your rabbi's feet. What does that mean? It's an image, it's a word picture that tells a disciple, if you want to be a true disciple of a rabbi, you need to be so close to them that the dust that their sandaled feet scuffs up covers you. We need to cover ourselves in the dust of our rabbi's feet. Wherever Jesus goes, to whomever he goes, we follow. That's our call. Our call is to have hard, calloused, dusty, yet beautiful feet. How beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news, the scriptures tell us. We're called to have soft hearts. We're called to have sharp minds. We're called to have hard feet. Finally, we're called to have open hands. Hands ready to extend the legacy we've been entrusted. Last July, Sue and I had the opportunity, before I stepped into this role, to come down to Sydney and to meet some of you over 2 very full days, and to see our Pitt Street community, and to see the facilities we have here. And on that tour, I had the opportunity to go into our boardroom. And for those of you who're not familiar with our boardroom here at Wesley Mission, when you go into our boardroom at the time, lined up across one wall, almost the width of the wall, are portraits of all the superintendent CEOs going back to W.G. Taylor in 1884. Can I say, as an incoming CEO superintendent, it's rather intimidating. In fact, it's extremely intimidating. I didn't know about it. And my reflex action in that moment, as I reflected over it afterwards, was this: I don't want to stuff it up. What was I thinking? But you see in all of those portraits represented our rich history, our heritage, our legacy, all the twists and turns, the ups and downs that are part of our story. And the temptation when we think of a legacy that stretches back so far, that's so rich and varied and wonderful, the temptation for someone like me, for people like us, is, well, what do we need to do to protect it? What do we need to do to protect it? To cling to it tightly, to make sure we keep that legacy safe. But can I say, that's exactly the wrong thing and the wrong attitude to have. We're not to cling to the legacy that we've received, but with open hands, we're to say to God, here's what you've placed in our hands. What do you want us to do with it now? Where do you want us to go? To whom do you want us to serve? If we try to protect this legacy we've received, what we'll end up doing is memorializing it, we'll rob it of all of its life, and we'll have nothing to hand on to the next generation. If we cling to our legacy, we'll smother it. But if with open hands we say to God, here we are, here it is, what's next? Watch out. And that's what this moment calls for. Our call is not to protect the legacy we have, but to extend it. And we do that as together we discern where God is leading, to whom God is leading us, the wherever, the whomever, the however. They're the questions before us. In many ways, when I saw those portraits in that boardroom, it reminded me of a relay race, and I was the next one along. 1884, W.G. Taylor, then Stevens, then Hoban, then Foreman, then Williams, then Rayward, then Walker, then Moyes, then Garner, then what? Me? Seriously? But here's the good news. The baton's not in my hands. It wasn't in theirs. It's in ours. This is not my race to run. This is our race to run. We are here today. We're joining us online or watching Wesley Impact TV as a donor, a supporter, a volunteer, a staff member, a congregation member, whatever way we engage with Wesley Mission. This is our story. This is our race to run. And it's ours to run that race with perseverance and with joy and with a spirit of expectation, fixing our eyes on Jesus, knowing that what was before, God will do again in the future, but only more still. That we should believe that our God is able to do exceedingly abundantly more than what we ask for or imagine, not according to our power, but according to His power at work in us. Amen? This is our story. This is our race to run. And so, my friends of Wesley Mission, this is my prayer, that we would run that race with soft hearts, sharp minds, hard feet, and open hands.
You can watch the entire 2021 Vision message on the Wesley Mission website and on our YouTube channel. Coming to Wesley Mission to lead our work, I felt the enormity of the task ahead of me. I believe God will guide the work that we do, and I'm looking forward to sharing more with you in the years to come. If Wesley Mission can be of help to you or a loved one in any way, please get in touch. Our contact details are on the screen now, and our doors are always open. I'll be here again next week, same time, same place, and I hope you can join me then. Every blessing to you and those that you love. God bless.